Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. I apologize for not having really uploaded anything statue related for so long. I got kind of distracted with other things and won't delve too deeply into it on this video because I have something so special to talk about already. Don't want to distract from that. But in short, I got a PS5. I found out that the PS5 can actually record video and upload video directly to YouTube. And I got, a little bit into rediscovering an old classic, the Uncharted series, and playing that quite a bit. And then, of course, just, life, responsibilities, things like that, intruding. And so I've been a little bit lazy. Again, I don't do this YouTube channel for profit. I'm not a professional YouTuber. And, even though I don't really spend much effort into editing or anything like that, it still takes some time to find time in a quiet place without my kids running around and all sorts of stuff going on to make these reviews, especially statue reviews. But it takes something truly remarkable to sort of, get me out of the funk. I still have a lot of stuff I can do reviews on. And I received a piece today after over a year of waiting that was so remarkable that I felt compelled to make the video and to upload it to share with others just what a staggering achievement this new collectible is. And so I'm kind of teasing a little bit. What I'm showing you, you can already tell, because if you can read, you can see this is a collectible from Wonder Woman 1984. And this is signed by the artists who created this amazing piece. This is the Wonder Woman 1984 1/3 scale. So, normally, by the way, a certificate of authenticity is like a laminated piece of paper. I mean, Queen Studios has a very classy certificate of authenticity. It's laminated. In the old days, it would just be a piece of paper. Sometimes you would see a little plaque. But this in my hand is truly, it was pretty incredible. It came in this nice black, envelope. It almost feels like something you would take out of like an Oscar, right? The Oscars. And this is from a studio in Korea called JND Studios. They're a relatively new studio. And they're priding themselves on creating like a boutique brand for high-end discriminating statue collectors. So they're targeting a very specific demographic, a little bit of niche demographic. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But this is the JND Studios Wonder Woman statue from the movie Wonder Woman 1984. And it's a 3rd scale, hyper real movie statue. As you can see, there's limited to 700 total, of which my number happens to be 230. And then you can see that it's actually signed by the artist, So-Young Lee, the main artist, and then the 3D artist, Da-Ye Kim. Very reflective, very classy. It's dark. It's, they're going for a very sleek, again, modern look. But it's definitely difficult to sort of make out the words and stuff on it. So hopefully just sort of reflecting it, you can see it. So this is the second statue in their line. It's apparent that DC licenses are a little bit easier to obtain than Marvel. Marvel, I guess, through Disney can be very difficult to work with, or they're very expensive, one or the other. And similar licenses for instance, Marvel characters are just simply not really out there right now, at least with this type of scale, this type of quality. So this is their second in their line. They debuted with Arthur Fleck from the Joker movie, which, in my opinion, is kind of an interesting character to choose to debut. It's an amazing statue, but it's of a character which, again, unless you're a big Joker, collector, I don't think is something that is necessarily, a very large or popular, character to depict, especially that version of the Joker. So she's number two, and then I think the other ones in the line, there's the Heath Ledger Joker, and then there's also the Dark Knight Rises Catwoman, the Anne Hathaway Catwoman, and then they recently revealed the Harlequin. So they're still very much a DC licensee. A lot of their pieces are DC licensed. And I am hoping that they can maybe branch out into some other licenses. At this level of collecting, at this price point, I'm going to put this certificate down now. We can focus on the statue. At this level, it's very tricky, because these pieces are very expensive. You do have to sell a certain number of them. And, choosing unwisely or incorrectly could, cost the company quite a bit of money. They are a newer company, and, there's so much labor and love and investment that goes into creating each of these works of art that you have to be careful, what you choose, what you pay in licensing, and can you really make it back? So they talked about that, by the way, in some detail when they chose Anne Hathaway's Catwoman as their next line, the next major female. So Wonder Woman, of course, is a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, is, very, very popular, and she's kind of become the iconic Wonder Woman. And even though Wonder Woman 1984 did not do as well as expected, either critically or commercially, in large part because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it still, has enough of a following, especially with her golden armor, that this was sort of a low-risk license. So I forget the details of when I pre-ordered. It was quite a long time ago. And back then, there was a lot of Wonder Woman in her golden eagle armor that was out there. I mean, Queen Studios had one. I'm pretty sure Sideshow had one. So they're all competing, and different scales, different materials. And I remember thinking that if I really wanted a truly spectacular Wonder Woman, which I don't have. I mean, I have a Wonder Woman comic book statue back when Sideshow first obtained the license. And that was like a few $100s. I think it was less than $400 at the time. I didn't really own one. If I wanted a iconic Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, which one would I choose? And at the time, I decided to place my trust in this fledgling new company, JND Studios. And so after all this waiting, it's finally come. As of this upload, I don't think there's a lot of private collectors who have uploaded it. I know a few people out there obviously have gotten it. A few collectors in the Asian markets definitely have it, and a few in the United States as well, but I don't really see it on YouTube. So I figured this would be a nice time to get back into, the statue reviewing game. And I think this is a piece that is going to generate a lot of interest, and I hope that this video does kind of give this the sort of hype and the sort of exposure it deserves. I'm sure there will be others who will be putting it out there. They did make 700 of them, so they're not all that. I mean, they're rare, but not ridiculously rare. And so here we are. So everything about this product screams class. I'm gonna go for a nice tracking shot so we can finally see her. So this is what she looks like in her glory. And so I'm gonna stand up now. And so let's talk about this. So first of all, we've already talked about the certificate, which is not even a piece of paper. It's almost like a framed piece of, I don't know whether this is resin or plastic. And the box it comes in is something you would expect for like a high-end boutique handbag. It's very classy. It's very simple, but it's excellent quality. It's packaged very well. When mine came in from Asia, it looked like somebody had tried to shoot a bullet through the cardboard, or somebody had actually taken a knife and tried to stab it. It was punctured. The brown shipper was punctured, but there was enough layers that it didn't actually damage the color box. So the color box is very, very pretty. You will see unboxing videos on other YouTube channels that will show it to you. So I don't really feel like taking the box and showing you that, but it's very, very nice, heavy cardboard. The corners are protected. JND Studios, their model is they are, detail oriented, and it's not just something they're saying. It's something that we like to say in surgery or in medicine, where it's very important to be detail oriented. And it seems like they really believe that. And when you look at the product that they are creating, it does show. It's packaged very, very nicely. And again, no detail seems to have been overlooked in terms of that. Okay, so this is a very, very beautiful base. It's not terribly heavy, but it definitely has a solid weight to it. Wonder Woman 84 here is on the front, but it's completely in black. And so for those of you who don't like kind of name tags or tags of the titles because you feel like it's a little bit cheesy, or if you want a true museum piece, and obviously museum pieces wouldn't have the title of the movies or whatnot, or the title of the character on it, they do make it very, very difficult to tell. But I think it has to be there because of licensing contracts. This piece over here is beautiful, elegant, simple, but beautiful and elegant. It's difficult to showcase how nice this is, but this is actually real marble. So it's lovely, okay? And then of course we get to the actual statue itself. There's a whole lot to talk about. Number one, the thing that I really like about this piece and its engineering, and it's something that I've really wanted for a long time, both at the custom statue marketplace as well as the licensed statues, is I do wish that there was more intelligence concerning sort of the way you break a statue apart, both for ease of shipping and packaging, as well as to protect it. If you ship a statue like her, which is absolutely 1/3 scale, so I'm backing up so you have an idea of what she looks like, it will require obviously a huge box, and breakage, especially in these areas here at the narrower ankles, could be very common. So what they did was they actually separated her into the upper torso with the arms, and then each leg was actually packaged separately, and it's connected seamlessly with the rare earth magnets, and these are incredibly large and powerful ones. To the point where, like if you look on YouTube, there's like these videos that show how if you don't know what you're doing and you buy the wrong rare earth magnets, it can actually take your finger off. It's not that bad, but it's very heavy. I mean, to the point where you go close to it and you have to be careful because it will literally slam into the joints. So I love the idea of using rare earth magnets to do these things. It locks the pieces in beautifully, and as long as you design the seam lines correctly, it's excellent. And it does make, again, shipping and packaging the statues a heck of a lot easier and safer. So she doesn't come in a whole lot of pieces. That's another thing I tend to like a lot. Some of the statues out there, in my opinion, is starting to get a little bit overly complicated. They're coming in literally 25, 30 pieces. You start feeling like you have a Hot Toys or like a Lego piece. So she's actually very simple. She has the torso and arms and head all in one piece. There's a plastic around her head to protect her hair and her silicone face. And then the shoulder blades, 1 and 2, and then the front chest plate, and then there's a back plate, and then basically the lasso and the 2 legs. So not very many pieces at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pieces total, and the shoulder pads and the armor pieces are very small accessories. Okay, they are made out of, I think, some sort of PVS or plastic to prevent breakage, which is completely fine. It looks very, very good. So again, in terms of the design and just the engineering, the use of rare earth magnets, everything here is placed with a magnet. I can't tell you how much I love that. I'm so tired of statues that come with still the same old stupid peg and hole, and then it's like loose. Sometimes it falls off. I know it costs more money, but again, this is a company where they are trying to create a niche where they're like the Louis Vuitton or something like that of statue collecting. Everything they do, they want to be the top class, highest level quality, from the box to the inserts to how they put the statues together. So far, they're showing that, they're showcasing that. In terms of materials, this feels like actually real like rope or whatever you want to call it. It's not resin. The silicone, the hands are silicone, as well as of course this drop dead gorgeous portrait of Gal Gadot, which we'll get into later. I believe that the reflective armor here is like PVS, and then some of the armor here is resin. Okay, so it's mixed media for sure, and of course you have the marble base. Now, when you look at this, we'll just kind of take a step back here. So the first thing is, this is meant to be, again, sort of like a work of art. So it's meant to be like a museum piece. You would expect to see this in a museum and wouldn't look out of place. And when I kind of step backwards, you can actually get an idea of how she looks. This is a wonderful pose, outstanding, very relaxed. It is a very good museum pose, not very busy. She's not all over the place. So again, there's different tastes for different folks, but as far as what JND Studios is going for, they're mostly classic museum pieces in museum poses. So very, very nice pose, excellent stance. I like the attitude. I like the way, they kind of decided to pose her. In terms of the detail of the armor, and this is her in her golden eagle armor, of course. I'm very thankful that they decided to do her without the helmet, because of course doing the helmet, you remove a lot of the, what's amazing about the statue and what sets the JND Studio statue apart from every other version of her out there is that this is a silicone piece. So the 1/3 scale, the hair is all hand punched according to the studio. Every hair is hand punched, so they're not taking any shortcuts. They're not gluing or anything like that. My mind is blown by how much labor it takes to do something like this. I believe even on the custom life-size busts, I don't know if they're actually punching the hair individually. I know they do the hairlines individually, but I would think that they would take some shortcut and basically glue the larger pieces, just again to save some time. But if they really did hand punch every one of these on a 3rd scale portrait to boot, that's insane. We have glass eyes, perfectly set. And then of course the eyebrows, the eyelashes, all of that is hand punched. And then the skin is silicone. It does give you a level of realism that is almost impossible to match, except for maybe the translucent resin that Queen Studios has used, or that Blitzway uses with some of their pieces. But trust me when I say that there's something about silicone that in real life, here we have the artificial glare from the overhead lights, but with shadows and in real life, it's impossible, in my opinion, to replicate in that manner. So this is sort of what sets JND Studios apart. Okay, everything about this piece is flawless, which is something sad to say. Used to be the expectation back in 2006, 2005. And that's really not the case anymore. Whether it's just because the factories are too busy, the numbers too large, the competition too much, the quality control is abysmal in today's custom as well as licensed statue market. And it's very refreshing to see a product where you can tell that the factory has spent that extra time to make sure every single one of these pieces, I have no doubt every single one of these pieces is flawless. And when you look at that, you look at the detail of the printing, it looks simply amazing. All of the detail of the armor here, the reflective nature, again, of these overlapping pieces of her golden armor. We're gonna switch toward the back, right on over here. So just kind of moving all the way up and down, and kind of the base, so classic, so elegant marble, in keeping with Wonder Woman's, sort of, Greek Athenian background. So you kind of highlight the statue itself. You don't get distracted by an overly busy base. So just, from her boots, her armored feet, her armored boots, looking all around. There's just so much to see, just going in really, really close. This is my first 4K, 60 frames per second video. So I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. Hopefully it does make a bit of a difference. But again, I'm just kind of showing you how beautifully detailed that armor is. Sometimes when you first evaluate the piece, you can see that it even has a little bit of styrofoam over there. We'll get rid of that in time, but that's from the styrofoam. Let me see if I can just sort of gently get rid of it. So that got rid of that. But sometimes when you look at the materials in a piece, you're thinking, well, why is it so expensive? Is it justified? I mean, after all, it seems like you're paying almost all this money maybe just for the portrait. But if you were to take a look now at this, I think you will agree that they spent a lot of time and excellent material, that the armor is nothing to be ashamed about in terms of the detailing and the quality of the armor. It's reflective, it's gorgeous, moving up and down. So, she looks great. Now, this is, of course, not her iconic, blue and red, but I'm quite partial, actually, to this armor. I think this is one of her best looks. And again, it is sort of like a very unique thing to have her in this costume. Will they ever spend the money to make another one? I have my doubts about that. I think that it would be hard to imagine them getting the licensing for another version. Maybe if there's another Wonder Woman, maybe they'll think about it. But my suspicion is that this is what we're going to get for Wonder Woman, is the Golden Eagle armor. And I, for one, am perfectly happy with that. You can see her bracers right over here, some of the battle damage and the weathering. And then, these fists are actually made of silicone as well. Okay. Let's take a look at the portrait. This is sort of, the killer part of the statue. It's what separates her from everything else. This is a production piece. If you look at the paint, you look at the makeup, first of all, in terms of the likeness, this is stunning. Again, in the real world, or in person, she looks amazing. I'm putting my hand over the head, so maybe you can see a little bit of the shadows. But on 4K recording it already looks like amazing. Like, just, it looks like a miniature version of Gal Gadot. But when you have her in person, when you're seeing her, you're moving around her in real space, it's way better. And I'm hoping that other people will be able to shoot better versions, because I'm just like an amateur, to really showcase how stunning this is. Even the official JND Studios YouTube videos do not come close to how spectacular she looks. She looks absolutely spectacular. This is like the best likeness of Gal Gadot I've ever seen. I also got the Queen Studios life size, which I've waited for over 2 years. That was an insane wait. And I've seen some early YouTube videos of her, and she looks stunning there. But I mean, I'll have to judge when I get it. I'll do a review when I finally get her. But it's hard to imagine any piece looking better than this. It's amazing, So look at I'm going to go real close, and hopefully my phone can handle it. But you can actually see, again, the eyes, the hair. You can actually see a little strand of hair just lightly touching her face. You can see the lipstick, and then it just feels and looks like skin. You can see the eyelashes individually punched in. You can see that one strand of hair. They even put the little mole on the side of her face, her ears. And I know ears. This is a little bit of what I do for a living, anatomically correct and perfect. So this is really just a stunning portrait of her. Is this thing worth alone, let's just say $1,000? I would say, yeah, it is worth that. Okay, because that's what it takes to make 700 of these perfectly, such that the production sample truly is prototype. Like, if this isn't a prototype, it's got to be like 99%, 98% there. I've watched videos of the production process throughout. JND students have been very good doing that. I can't imagine kind of a better production version of this. She comes with the hair reasonably protected. It all kind of depends how much it's jostled during shipping, but it's it's pretty tight, and you can see kind of the curls, very natural. Her hair just looks very, very natural, and you can gently, for instance, style it and all of that stuff. So, pretty good here. Okay, so yeah, what can really be said about this amazing piece? I would say the only one very, very small nitpick is that while these are silicone, that they could have done a slightly better job, a little bit more work on the hands to make the hands also a little bit more realistic. But this is like a tiny, tiny, tiny nitpick. Maybe again you can see here that the fists are lacking a little bit in detail, but still, not bad by a long shot, but still, maybe a little bit more, tiny bit more work on the hands. But this is like an A+. Like, this is like a maximum grade, maximum grade in every sense of the word, from the base, the packaging, and of course, the likeness, the portrait, all of that. So, I've been collecting for almost 20 years, since back in the days of Bowen, when he actually sculpted the Seinfeld Superman and then the classic Batman on gargoyle. And in those days, they were made out of porcelain. They weren't even packaged in form-fitting foam. They were just placed in a box with some soft foam around it, and you basically prayed that it wouldn't break, and they made thousands of them. So from that beginning, when Sideshow was only making 12-inch 6-scale Universal Monster figures, essentially, and from their beginnings as essentially a garage kit company, I've kind of seen the statue market evolve all the way through Sideshow, Weta's Lord of the Rings, and then the Marvel license, the Star Wars license, the DC license. So every once in a while, while you're going through these collecting history, you see examples of like a new paradigm where a company will try to attempt to do something really unique. They're going to take a risk. They're going to try to push the limits of what it means to create a true collectible. And I want to kind of have a little bit of a callback moment to a company called Cinemaquette. Cinemaquette was around many, many years ago. I think it's, probably well over now 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And, they were the ones who first, I think, pioneered this, sort of this dream or this goal of creating portraits or creating collectible statues with the hand-punched hair, the eyes, and the silicone. Now, they had a lot of detractors. Okay, they had a lot of detractors. People accused them of all sorts of things. People, the haters came out in droves. They made fun of their human pieces. Now, Cinemaquette, created some of the most desirable and now some of the most expensive licensed pieces. Their Cinemaquette Predator, of course, is legendary. The Cinemaquette Alien, the Cinemaquette T800, which we'll review later. I own a lot of those Cinemaquette pieces. Those are legendary, but the human pieces with the silicone and the hand punched in hair was mocked. Okay. And they were mocked in general because of their likenesses, which, to be fair, was rather poor. The T850 with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the sunglasses on, and only with the sunglasses on, was like their best likeness. And Arnold has a face that seems to lend itself to having good likenesses. He also, gave of himself and made many live scans, which helped. But aside from Arnold, they did one with Aragorn from Return of the King that, frankly, looked terrible. There was a Bruce Lee that was also not very good. There was a Godfather that was passable. But again, Indiana Jones from Harrison Ford was not good. So many of their silicon piece likenesses were, basically mocked for the poor likenesses. And their production was a little bit crude, the way the hair was put in, just the quality of the silicon, the way it was painted. It wasn't the best, but Cinemaquette was the one that had the vision to think of statue collecting as something, again, as a boutique sort of, hobby. They were the first ones to pay really extra attention to the quality of the boxes, how heavy they were. They reinforced the corners with hard plastic. And when you opened up a Cinemaquette piece, you really did feel like you were getting sort of like this very, very high-class boutique brand. But they were the first generation. And unfortunately, while they did some revolutionary things and they were amazing in many ways, they ultimately did fail to live up to the dream and the expectations, at least with their licenses eventually that dried up, and with their silicon projects. And they eventually gave that up. They went finally back to just resin pieces. And if you look at their later pieces from, for instance, Underworld, they never tried to license a female. They never tried to license any more silicon. It was always like, I think there was a werewolf, there was a lichen, and there was a Marcus, the vampire from Underworld, which are good statues. They may even be great depending on if you're a big fan. But it's sort of like that ambition died. They felt that the market just wasn't there for this type of hyper-real statue. And the reason I've talked so much about Cinemaquette is when I saw JND Studios, it's almost like they're the next evolution of Cinemaquette. They took the baton from Cinemaquette, whether they know it or not, they took that baton, and now they finally sort of reached the promised land. We used to dream, those of us who bought Cinemaquette pieces, we used to dream about a statue like this, a woman, so hard to do a female, to get the female likeness correct, the hair, the eyes. This is a human being, an international supermodel and a superstar, iconic actress, and everyone knows what she looks like. So to get that likeness done correctly, to get it done right, that's crazy. That's not something that can easily be done. And Cinemaquette never did a woman. They were scared to. They could not actually meet the challenge of that. And so for JND Studios to accomplish this at a production level, stunning. You cannot emphasize enough, you cannot give enough credit for what they accomplished here, the ambition to do something like this, and then to be able to achieve that. That's huge. And all of the boxing, the boxes, the packaging, the down to the certificate of authenticity, the marble base, like a real piece of marble, cut marble as a base, the attention to detail for every little bit. Cinemaquette fell, on their face for a lot of those little things sometimes, especially as some of the later versions. But JND Studios really took it to the next level. So I see them as sort of the spiritual successor to Cinemaquette, just much better. The scale is right there, and they're back to doing silicon. People are afraid of silicon. They're afraid that it's not going to last. But I'm telling you that they're going to last. I've had silicon pieces for well over 10, 15 years. They look great if you just take care of them properly. And you cannot get the same effect, in my opinion, from a non-silicon piece. And it's very difficult to describe it without actually owning one of these and seeing them in real time. So once again, super, super happy with this piece. I've been disappointed quite a number of times. And, I've given thought to even maybe exiting the statue collecting game for a while. I have too many pieces. I'm thinking about, moving some of them, selling a few of them, or selling even maybe not a few, but most of them, and just keeping the truly remarkable, iconic ones. This does represent a new paradigm shift, in statue collecting, a new sort of level of ambition. So definitely would be a keeper. And I just hope that as time passes, that JND Studios continues to thrive, continues to do well, especially in today's marketplace. They definitely have a niche for themselves that is remarkable, and I hope that they continue that. I hope they get new licenses, and I hope that they continue to do females. Marvel, I know, is for now a dream, but if they can do a Black Widow, they can do a Captain Marvel. If they can do like a Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, that was from Cinemaquette, and that's still to this day the best Iron Man statue, in my opinion, ever made, because it has a silicone portrait of Robert Downey, a stunning portrait, and I'll do a review of that someday. But until that happens, this is what we have. I'm really, again, very hopeful that we can get like Kate Beckinsale from Underworld, just great, iconic, actresses from film. A Sigourney Weaver Ripley would be, amazing. Maybe the Uma Thurman's Bride. I mean, there's so many great iconic female roles that they can do. If they can do it, like this, and whatever they do, however far they get, I hope they don't go the way of Cinemaquette. You never know. The statue market is very, very crowded, but with this level of quality, they definitely have my support, and every work that they produce is a legitimate work of art, in my opinion. And even though I personally hate the Joker as a character, I've never really gotten into it. So I enjoy the movies, but I'm not really a big fan of, say, these characters as collectibles, which is fortunate for me. I wish that they would go beyond these Jokers. I know it sells a lot. I know they're very, very popular, but trying to go and do other pieces that's maybe a little bit less mainstream than just Joker pieces. So I'm really, really eager to figure out and to find out what they're going to do. I do have their Anne Hathaway on pre-order, as well as their Harlequin, and if they continue that quality, they're going to be amazing pieces. So enough of my rambling. I thought like maybe I needed to actually have a script or something, but this is my first statue review in literally I'm thinking 5-6 months, maybe longer. And so I just wanted to, just to kind of say whatever comes to my mind. And it takes, I guess you could say that it takes an iconic, piece like this to finally get me to do another statue review. So hopefully I'll do some more in the weeks ahead. But for now, this is the JND Studios Gal Gadot Wonder Woman 1984. Definitely the best statue in my collection, one of the best statues ever made. I hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, do take care.